Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Saturday morning practice. Another week. We'll be spending the next hour and a half together in what I call boot camp. In that, we're here for our physical health, our mental health, and also for something called chi, which is the bridge between our physical being and our spiritual being. Chi means life energy. It's not just the energy inside the body, it's actually the energy in the universe. And what we want to do is make sure that energy passes through a body, giving us not just life, but life energy. So today we alternate. For those of you who are new, we alternate. And today we're going to be doing mainly breathing exercise, learning how to breathe with our diaphragm, breathing with our lower stomach. And we're going to start with some joint exercise, relaxing the body, energizing uh, the what we call the uh, um, uh, uh, not the fight flight, but the um, rest and digest, the parasympathetic nerve. Okay, so we're going to be doing some joint exercise. We will work on the wrists, work on the elbow, work on the shoulder, and then similarly on the lower part of the body, work on the heel, the knee, and the hip. All right. So let's just focus on the body, what we call mindfulness, which basically means that anchor your mind onto your body or on your breath. So when we exercise, we're moving, so we will anchor on our body. Let's try to focus our mind on the lower part of the spine and slowly move up the spine. As you move towards the top of the head, stretch the spine, stretch it as hard as you can, and then lean back the upper torso and then relax. Same thing, focus on the shoulder, lift up the shoulder, open the shoulder as far back as you can, and then relax. We're going to be doing some exercise with the joints, starting with the wrists. So I want you to anchor your mind now on the center of your palm. I want you to bring up your hand slowly all the way up to the shoulder level. And then I want you to focus on the wrists. The joint exercise is done by turning the wrists one turn at a time. But each time we turn, we recognize that there is a beginning and an end. At the beginning is when we focus, we commit to our body. And then when we finish is when we said to ourselves, we're going to do it one more time. And one turn at a time. Now, as you turn the wrist, I want you to focus on your body. Focus on examining the changes in your body. One of the things that we don't do well is we don't tend to pay attention to our body. And our practice actually start with the body, start with focusing on the wrist, focusing on the sensation on the wrist, examine the wrist, see if there's any changes, any heat, any sweat, any numbness, any pain. Now we're going to turn it the other way, but I want you to come back to the wrist. Most likely your mind is somewhere else, so just keep focusing on your wrist. Bring it back at the beginning of each turn. Recommit at the end of each turn. Now we're going to lower our hands, so I want you to anchor your mind on the center of your palm again. Bring it back down the same way you brought it back up. And I want you to come back to the spine, stretch the spine, lift up the shoulder, open the shoulder, lean back, and then relax. We're moving from the wrist to the elbow. So once again, anchor your mind on the center of your palm, bring it up, all the way up to the shoulder level, and then turn your elbow. I want you to turn your elbow one turn at a time, one turn at a time. Again, separate the turns individually. Each turn has a beginning and an end. Learn to practice so that when you're at the beginning is when you said to yourself, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to examine my elbow from the beginning to the end. And then when you get to the end, you're going to say to yourself, that was a good one. I'm going to do it again. And that's what we call diligence. One turn at a time, one turn at a time. Now I'm going to turn it the other way. Now is a good time to check your mind, make sure that you are actually back into your elbow, one turn at a time, one turn at a time, one turn at a time. Now we're going to lower our hand, and then we're going to examine the body again, stretch, lift up the shoulder, open the shoulder, and then relax. All right. Now, when you type your comments, first of all, it's very tiny print and I can't see it that far, especially when I'm out on the floor. So if I can answer it, if I feel that it was urgent, I would answer it. But many times I can't. And so, but I would still, at the end of the class, I would roll back and see if there's anything I missed. I noticed that I missed a very important comment last week, which is someone, and she might still be here, someone who says that I just went through chemotherapy, obviously for my cancer, and I feel very, very weak. That's one of the problem with Western science. The Western approach to science is a very materialistic approach, and there's a lot of reason for that. One of the big reasons is that during the Renaissance, the church controls everything, controls the mind, and so scientists are actually called philosophers. And so, for example, I have a PhD that's Doctor of Philosophy, even though I have nothing to do with philosophy. But that's because science was considered a philosophy. The search of truth belongs to the church. And so Western science, as a result, tend to, not tend, exclusively focus on your materialistic existence. And here is when we want to explore our existence beyond the physical. And we want to explore that beyond the physical to include the mind, not the brain, not the thinking mind, but there's something beyond the thinking mind, beyond the body. And also, as I said, the bridge between the body and the mind, which is what we call the life energy. So when you go through something as extreme as chemotherapy, where they are trying to kill your body indiscriminately, the reason is that there are cells that are degenerate into what's called a cancer cell. But you have to ask yourself, how did that happen? How did that happen? Right? Because cancer is not from a foreign agent. It's not like you have germs or you have virus or you have, it actually is something that it generates from within. And you might say, oh, that's because I live in an environment where I have toxins from outside. But more and more, the toxins are not from outside. The toxins actually from within. And the first thing you have to examine is that, is there anything emotionally that I could change to improve this habitat so that my cells, the very part of me, doesn't have to degenerate in order to survive? Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is that the Western science just kills it. It kills everything. And so what happened is that you are very weak. Not only that, it actually destroys your chi. You know, fortunately, none of my immediate family has to suffer that, but they do suffer everything else. And so I told you, my mom just came out from hospital spending 10 days there because initially she had problem breathing because she had a lot of water retention. It got into her lung and she was wheezing and all that. And then in the process, there was so much stress on her heart that she actually had what is called AFib, atrial fibrillation. The heart doesn't beat well. And so they did what the Western science is good for, give her some microsurgery, and she seems to doing well. The problem is that the medicine that they gave her, each one of them causes side effects, things like um, diuretics, which is really bad for your body, just forcing water out of your body through your kidney and your bladder. And then also something called blood thinner, which is really bad that causes anemia. So my point is that Western medicines are very, very good in not healing, but reversing your illness. But it doesn't do a damn thing. In fact, it does worse in terms of killing the other dimension of your existence. Okay? So, but that's the world we lived in. And I don't think that we want to reject Western science. We actually want to embrace Western science, but smart, smart money says that maybe we should also explore something that's beyond the Western science, which is how the mind plays into our physical well-being and how our energy, especially the energy in the universe, plays into the well-being of our physical existence. And that's what we do here, is to understand the harmony, not just within our body, but also with the energy and also with our mind. So here we are, back to our practice. And I hope whatever it is that we do, my friend who has just suffered this awful, awful treatment can benefit by focusing your mind on your body. We are now continuing with a joint exercise, going from the wrist to the elbow, and now we are to our shoulder. So I want you to focus on your body again, focus on the lower part of your spine. I want you to walk up the spine, stretch the spine towards the ceiling. And then I want you to lean back the torso, feel the lightness as you do that because you're removing your dependence on the muscle. You're putting the weight of your upper torso now on the spine and not on your muscle. And then I want you to relax. Next, I want you to open the shoulder, lift it up, open it, and then relax. We're now doing joint exercise on the shoulder. I want you to focus on the center of your palm. Bring it together, cross your hand, bring it up, follow the center of your palm. Anchor your mind on the center palm in front of you, on top of you. And then now I want you to stretch the upper torso towards the ceiling. And before you come down, I want you to anchor your mind on the center of your palm. Turn the palm outward, open the shoulder. Feel the pain on your shoulder. And then relax. Back again, focus on the center of your palm. Bring it up, bring it towards the ceiling, stretch. And then as you bring it down, anchor on the center of your palm, turn the wrist, and then open the shoulder. Feel the pain on your shoulder. Let go of the pain. Anchor your mind on the center of your palm. Stretch, open. Feel the pain on your shoulder. Let go of the pain. Let's do that one more time. Lift it up. Stretch. Open that. Feel the pain on your shoulder. Let go of the pain. Now we're going to do the other way. Open first. Stretch. And then bring it back down. Open first. Stretch. Bring it back down. Open first. Stretch. And then bring it back down. One more time. Open first. Stretch. And then bring it back down. All right. So even though we are doing joint exercise, feeling the pain on the shoulder, we're actually using that to learn to deal with our emotion. And especially for a friend who went through the chemo, there's a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, a lot of um, uncertainties, a lot of lack of confidence. There's a lot of bad emotions, and we can't make those go away. They're real. What we can do is to manage it. And what we can do is to feel it and then learn to accept it and then learn to let it go. And those are mental pain. Well, we're not good enough to do the mental pain yet. So why don't we learn to do it with the physical pain? The question is, how can our sadness be used to help our mind? I think I told this story more than once, and there's uh, a Zen teacher. Zen is the Japanese word for something that is called Chan in China, which is how it was originally um, uh, perfected. Is the meditation technique, and then when it went to Japan, it's called Zen, and it actually first went to Korea, and it's called Sun. Each place has a different pronunciation. But in any case, there is a Korean meditation teacher who actually was born in the United States. And he was born of a immigrant parents from Korea, very educated. And so when he was young, the parents were very concerned about his education. And eventually he went to Harvard and got his MBA. But after he finished his education, he decided that he was looking for something else. He really wanted to be a monk, which for the Asian family was like, that's a big no-no, right? How could my only son want to be a monk? What we really want him to do is start his own family, continue with the tradition. But no, he wanted to be a monk, and he didn't even speak Korean, the Korean language. He was born here. He wanted to be a monk, so he searched out and he found a very famous monk in Korea, and he actually started to speak Korean, learn to speak Korean, and eventually he managed to go to Korea, visit his future teacher. When he got there, he was really, really surprised that the temple was not on top of a mountain away from civilization, but rather it was in the middle of a market with the butchers and the fishmongers all around making noise 24 hours a day. But in any case, he went into the temple and he greeted his future teacher, but then he couldn't help but to ask, Teacher, why is your temple in the middle of a market? I thought this is a place where we learn to meditate and learn to be um, learn tranquility. And his teacher says, well, if you can learn it here, you can learn it anywhere. And this is sort of a interesting way of looking at spiritual practice. Is that spiritual practice is not about going in top of a mountain and finding a place where there's no disturbance, and then um, learn to explore your inner self. In fact, it's the opposite. The more disturbance there is, the more opportunity there is to actually seek your inner peace. So this is coming back to your question: is that how can our sadness, and for that matter, how can our sadness and our anger and our all those things help with our mind? Well, um, they're just like contamination. They're like contamination, right? And it's actually a great opportunity to learn because you have all these disturbance outside. It's like being in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of a storm, right? If it's already very peaceful, you actually don't have a reason to practice. It is when times like this, times like this, right? I call this boot camp. I also call it a sanctuary. Look at all the craziness that is happening around us with our president, with all of the people that he called his cabinet member, the kind of chaos that they're causing in this country. How do we deal with that? Well, you deal with it by thinking that, wow, maybe now is the time to practice. Now is the time to learn the power within us. And so I'm not solving your problem, obviously. I'm just saying that perhaps there's a different way of looking at sadness. Perhaps sadness is a blessing in disguise, that it forces us to find the bliss within us. Let's continue. And so now we're going to do the joint exercise from the front to back. And there is no trick to this. There is no trick to this. Any spiritual practice built on the foundation of faith, mindfulness, and diligence. Those are the three things that you need to build a foundation. Once we get that foundation done, we go beyond that to samadhi and panya. But first, we have to have faith. Faith in that there is energy within us that are positive. There's energy around us. There is positive. We might not see it just for the same reason that we might not see the sun because there's cloud outside. But that doesn't mean the sun is not there. We might not see it because we turn our back to it. That might not mean that doesn't mean that the sun is not there. The sun is always there. We just can't see it. So that's the belief. That's the faith. But it's also faith of a self. You have to have faith. Once you have faith, then you have to pick up a technique called mindfulness. Mindfulness just means anchoring, knowing where your mind is. It's as if you have $1 million in the bank, but you don't know where they are. You don't know where they are, right? So mindfulness is like this. At least I should know where my mind is. So Katie has a follow-up questions. Reality does not go away. They don't. They do not go away. But neither do you. The reality doesn't go away, but I don't go away neither. I am in control of my mind. I don't play victims here. I'm not going to call it quit. I don't care what's going on outside of me. I only care about what's going on inside of me. You can choose. You can choose to have reality be you, or you can choose to have you being the reality. Let's continue. Focus on those three elements that forms the foundation: mindfulness, faith, and diligence. You have to have faith. You're not alone. We are here together. Now that you have faith, let's focus on mindfulness, which is to learn to anchor your mind either on your body or on your breath. It's a very simple proposition. When you move, you anchor your mind on your body. When you don't move, whether you're sitting, standing, or lying down, then you anchor your mind on your breath. That's all we do here. Now that we're moving, we're doing exercise, let's commit ourselves to anchor our mind on the body. Let's focus on the center of your palm. Mind, body together, bring it up in front of you, on top of you. And then now we're going to open the shoulder as hard as we can. Feel that pain on that shoulder. Accept that pain. Let go of the pain. Come back to the center of your palm. Bring it up. All the way back. Open that shoulder. Understanding the pain of the shoulder. Feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Back to the center of your palm. Open the shoulder. Feel it, accept it, and then let it go. On top of you, behind you, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. We're going to do back to front, all the way to the back. Stretch, all the way to the front, all the way to the back. Stretch, the front, all the way to the back. Stretch, and then to the front. Now we're going to go from moving meditation to steady state static meditation, which means that we're now just sitting, we're not moving anymore, which means that we now have to learn to anchor our mind on the breath. You start with just knowing that you're breathing. I know that I'm breathing in. I can feel the breath in me. I know that I'm breathing out. One breath at a time. One breath at a time. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. Focus on your breath, nowhere else. Doesn't matter how sad you are, how angry you are. Now's the time to stay away from all that. Let it all go. Just focus on your breath, one breath at a time. Okay? All right, so we're going to do one more exercise about the pain, about the, um, and again, using that as a way to develop a new habit, which is whenever there's unpleasantness in your life, it could be something very simple, it comes from something very severe. Whatever it is, whatever it is, treat it the same way we treat our physical pain, which is to learn to feel it, really feel it, learn to accept it, and then learn to let it go. Right? Now, I often explain this in terms of the Buddhist teaching. The Buddhist teaching has um, something called samatha. Samatha means how to focus your mind on your body or on your breath. And the way it explains that is like someone who's like your favorite. I grew up with pet. I don't grew up with pets. We don't have that. We don't have that concept of pets in our culture back in days when I grew up. Um, Dogs are there for a purpose. Cats are there for a purpose. Cats are there to catch mice, and dog is always there to guard the household. They are part of your family. And so I always grew up with dogs being very fierce, guarding the family. And so um, one of the analogy that the Buddhist teaching use is that you need to guard your senses, like the very loyal dog. Now you notice that when the dog guards the house, and if someone walks by suspicious, right, they will look at you. But if they feel that whatever it is, that potential thief is not going to enter their house, they're going to let them go. They're not going to chase after them, right? So that's how you have to do it. Is that you're like guarding your sensors. The sensors is what's protecting your mind, the eyes, the nose, the ear, the tongue, the body, and then also the thinking mind. Those are the six sensors. We actually call them sense doors, right? And your job is to guard these doors. So we're guarding our sensation with the body the same way that the dog guards the household, which is we feel it, and as long as you're not causing any danger, we're going to accept you, and then we're going to let you go. We're not going to chase after you. And that's what reality is. Reality is there. You have no choice. The only choice you have is whether or not you're going to accept it and whether or not you're going to chase after it. Sadness is actually an event that has happened in the past by definition. My father passed away about 2.5 years ago. My mom and I were the caretakers. It was a painful death because he was suffering from dementia. It was not only painful for him, it was painful for us. But that's in the past now. There are times that it causes great sadness. Actually, more than sadness, it causes great guilt. Every day I wake up, I feel guilty that I couldn't do a better job, that I didn't understand the sickness, that I didn't have the spiritual faculty to deal with it. And I feel guilty that I contributed to his suffering. And I feel sad. I feel anger of myself. But that's in the past. That's in the past. I have to accept it and let it go. It's not helping anyone. It's not helping me. It's not helping him. And it's not helping my mom. And it's not helping anyone by getting so attached to what is in the past. That doesn't mean that I don't think of my father. I don't think you want to mix the two. That you don't want to think that just by staying sadness means that you're still remembering him. I choose to think about all the happy times that we have together because that helps me. That helps my family. And I believe that helps him too. So here we just learn to make a choice. We're learning how to uh, decide what kind of feeling we have. That's all. And I choose the positive. Okay? All right. So let's do one more. Let's do one more. This is important. And just remember, whenever it is that you feel sad, feel it. Don't avoid it. Feel it. After you feel it, accept it. After you accept it, you have to let it go. All right? Okay. Now, one more time, huh? One more time. Open your shoulder, lean back, and then relax. Put the left hand in front, stretch out the right hand. The reason we do that is that we want to make sure that we are anchoring our mind on one spot, which is on the right hand, the center of a right palm. We're going to keep the left hand stationary. We're not going to distract ourselves. We're going to move our right hand in front, making a big circle. And then we're going to open that shoulder. Now that's when the pain comes. So I'm going to go to really feel that pain. Now the pain is gone. I'm going to accept it. And then I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to follow that pain. The pain will become suffering if I follow. So I'm not willing to suffer from the past. Let it go. Now we're going to focus on the left hand, doing exactly the same thing. And then we're going to open that shoulder, feel the pain, and the pain is gone, right? Okay, all right, accept that pain. Let go of the pain. Don't let it metastasize into suffering. That's the trick here. Open it, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Sit up straight. All right. Feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Sit up straight, right hand, two more times. Feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Left hand, one last time. Feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Back to the breathing, one breath at a time. Okay. All right. I hope whatever it is I said helps you. But probably one thing worth repeating is that you're not alone. You are not alone. That's why we call this fellowship. We all suffer death in the family. We all suffer sickness. We all suffer abandonment, right? Now, if you want to hear about suffering, you should come to our, you should go to Facebook and look up Venerable De Hong. That's two words. First one is D-E, and then the second word is Hong. Now, it turns out that De Hong is a Vietnamese pronunciation that actually comes from the Sanskrit word, and the Sanskrit word is called kusala. Kusala means all the wholesome thoughts. So it turns out that we are capable of both what's called wholesome and unwholesome. The wholesome thoughts are like loving kindness, compassion, empathy, equanimity, determinations, all of that, right? There's like 20 of those. And then the unwholesomes are the anger, the violence, and all that. There's a whole bunch of that too. And so the practice is to always focus your mind on the wholesome part. And that's kusala, and that's what the Hong means, right? Dehong. So you go to Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, and you look up Venerable De Hong. Venerable De Hong is I believe he's 63 now, but when he was 19 years old, he came from Vietnam to America. He was actually a refugee because at the time The Chinese and the Vietnamese were at war, and if he didn't leave, he would be drafted and he would die for sure. And so he, his younger brother, um, actually bought tickets. I wouldn't call it ticket, but there were like 100 of them in a small boat. And he and his brother were in the lower deck, and that's all the room they have. They actually were in the sea for 7 days, and towards the end, they had no water. And he tried drinking seawater. That was not good. Um, they actually had to drink his own urine. But in any case, he suffered greatly from that. Anyway, I don't want to do all that here, but you should look him up. You should look him up. He has a, there's a documentary on him. He's an amazing person. You talk about suffering. He's a man that suffered. Not only how he suffered as a refugee, he even suffered from abuse from his father. His father was very abusive. Anyway, um, lots of people suffer. You're not alone. All right, and we all learn how to deal with it. And what we how we deal with here is really starting with the foundation of faith, faith that you're not alone, faith that we are all here together, but also faith as in confidence. You want to develop confidence in yourself by learning these techniques. And the first technique that you need to learn is called mindfulness. And mindfulness just means anchoring. Anchor your mind on your body, anchor your mind on your breath. But it's not just anchoring because there's also diligence. It takes a lot of effort. All right. So that's what we do here. Now that we are now stationary, we need to learn how to anchor our mind on the breath. We're going to start learning to sitting meditation now. So I want you to focus on your body. Always start with your body. Whatever it is that you do, always start your body. If you feel overwhelmed with sadness, first thing you want to do is come back to your body. I am in control of my body. So therefore, I am going to start with the lower part of my spine. I'm going to walk up the spine. As I walk up the spine towards the top of my head, I'm going to stretch the spine. I'm going to feel the strength in me. And then I'm going to lean back up the torso, remove the hindrance on my body as if I'm trying to remove the sadness in my mind. I feel the lightness as I do that. And then I'm going to relax. Now I'm going to focus on my shoulder. I'm going to lift up my shoulder, and then I'm going to open the shoulder. I feel that energy in me as I do that. And then again, I'm going to relax. Everything comes from relaxation. Always relax. Now I'm going to focus on my forehead. I'm going to lean back the forehead as I do that. Once again, I feel the lightness in me because I'm removing the dependence on my muscle. I'm putting the weight of my head on my spine as if I'm balancing a bowling ball with a bamboo stick. Now I'm going to lower my chin slightly so the top of my head is on top of the spine. Now this is a great symbol. I would call this one pillar supporting the sky. The spine, all the way to the top of the head, is the center of our universe. You said, how could that be? Well, how could it not be? The universe is unbound. It's the center when you say this. I am now the center of my universe. I am going to practice so that the energy from the universe will pass through me. I'm now going to focus on my eyelid. I'm going to close my eye, but I'm not going to shut it. I'm not going to put any stress on my eyelid. I imagine my eyelid being like the window shade where I just lower it. I can actually see some light coming through my eyelashes. I can see my knee, I can see my hand. I might even be able to see the tip of my nose. But I'm going to see it without actually seeing it. I'm just going to lay back and feel it. Now it comes to my tongue. I'm going to put the tip of my tongue behind my teeth, where the teeth meets the roof of my mouth. I'm close my mouth. I feel the wetness inside my mouth, which means that I am now back into rest and digest. I'm actually relaxing to the point where my salivary gland is reactivated once again. And often when we're sad or when we're angry, we enter into the fight or flight. And when you enter into the fight or flight, first thing it does is that it shut off your saliva gland. I want my saliva back because that's the source of my digestion and my self healing. Now that I have my body in the proper posture, I'm going to focus on my breath once again. I just want to feel my breath. I feel that I'm breathing in. I feel that I'm breathing out. Now I'm going to focus on my belly button. I'm going to try to see if I can feel my belly button as I breathe in. I can actually feel my stomach opens when I breathe in. I can feel my stomach collapses as I breathe out. But then you say, well, actually, I don't feel anything. That's okay. You will. All you have to do is relax. And the reason that you don't feel anything is because you're not using your diaphragm. You're using the muscle that's above and around your lung to breathe. But that was not the case when you were born. When you were born, the only muscle you have is the diaphragm. So when you look at baby, they always breathe with the stomach. The problem is that this diaphragm is a very interesting material. It's all viscoelastic. Viscoelastic. It's elastic, but it has some viscosity, which means that when you become stressed, it actually tightens. And that's why we don't breathe with that diaphragm anymore because it's too hard. And so you need to come back and relax. And when you relax, you can then feel your stomach moving as you breathe. I want you to focus on your belly button and just wait for your breath. When you feel that you're breathing in, relax as if you're bringing your belly button forward. When you feel that you're breathing out, relax and bring the belly button back. Now you might say, that's too hard. I can't do it. Well, try, try, try to just imagine the belly button moving forward and then imagine the belly button moving back. But all this time, relax, relax so that the diaphragm can actually move. Let's try that for 3 minutes. Okay. All right, we're going to cut it short a little bit, and we're going to continue meditation after we have a chance to actually learn how to use the diaphragm. It's a much more effective way of meditating once we learn that. Okay, so we're just going to give you a taste of what it means to meditate while learning how to breathe your stomach. Now, it turns out that going back to using the diaphragm, going back to breathing with your lower abdomen is the key to your health, not only physical but emotional health. All right. So this is important enough that let's just take a break, and then we're gonna do some stretching exercise, give us some more energy, and then we're gonna go down on the floor and learn to practice um, using this technique. Okay. Now I think there's a great question here, and I hope you don't mind if I take some time out to try to answer it. And this is from Anna. It says, "Hey, Danny, I have a question. 2 months ago, a nightclub burned down in my neighborhood, and 62 people, young people, died. I was friend with some of them. One of them was a really close friend of mine, and also my former college roommate. Um, the trial of the case are just beginning, and I can't quite read, so just beginning. And I have learned anything. If I have learned anything from the past, our country sweep things like this under the rug, and nobody takes responsibility. The club burns down because it didn't meet basic safety precautions, and it was working illegally. um, so most of the fault is with the owner, and those who kept the club working knows that it shouldn't have. My question is, how do we deal with the heavy emotions dealing the trial, especially the anger, if it ends up with nobody being held responsible for the death of these young children? Um, so here we're talking about how to manage emotion, and we talked about sadness earlier, and now we talk about anger. Managing our emotion is not a luxury. Managing our emotion is a necessity, is in fact our competitive advantage. So whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is that you think that is worthwhile doing, don't think that you're trying to prioritize between what it is that you want to do and what it is that you want to learn to deal with emotion. The two are together. And if you really believe in the cause, then you better learn to deal with your emotion. So imagine, and I'll use this case about having to take someone to a court of justice and try to argue your case in front of the jury. That and you as the prosecutor, right? Now I have family who practice law, and so I know a little bit about what to do in the court of law. And when you are arguing your case in front of your juror, your peers, you have to have emotion because that's what connects you. That is the language you're trying to speak because it's one emotion. You want to show anger. You want to show um, uh, um, 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 sense of justice, but you want to use that emotion intelligently, right? Because you just go up there as a crazy man, crazy person. That's not going to help your case. So you want to use emotion, but you want to use it intelligently. So how do you use the emotion intelligently? Well, you first have to find some way of tapping into your emotion so that you can manage it. And so those that emotional intelligence can be explained in two ways. One is how do you use your emotion intelligently? Second is that how do you find intelligence into your emotion? Well, it turns out that if you learn to anchor your mind on your body and you anchor your mind on your breath, you get to be really good about sensing the change in your body and the change in your breath. And it turns out that they're like a canary in the cave, that they're the one to tell you your emotional states. So when you feel anger, you're the first person who feel it, and then you can then use that anger in an intelligent way to convey that to your juror. to convince them that this is wrong. I wish I can show you what's happening outside my house right now. My next door neighbor over here, the Nelson family, the parents have died. Actually, the mom died last July 4th. They're good friends of my parents. This house belongs to my parents. I bought it from them. I have a fence out in their yard that was built by my father and Mr. Nelson. They were great friends. Mr. Nelson and Mrs. Nelson have two sons and two daughters. The oldest son died from drug addiction. The oldest daughter also died from drug addiction. Only the second son and the second daughter are left. And they also have a grandson. They're all drug addicts. I had all kinds of things happen in my neighborhood. Not only the family member died, not only the kids are drug addicts, not only that they're selling drugs out of their house and they have all kinds of people coming in, buying drugs and doing crazy things. They even had an explosion once, a fire and whatever, in my neighborhood, right next to me. There's nothing I can do. I call the cop, they can't do anything. They have garbage in the driveway, I can't do anything. There's anger in my wife, there's anger in me, but you just have to deal with it. Emotion doesn't help. Emotion doesn't help. You have to deal with it by managing your emotion. And you manage your emotion because what you want to do is that important to you. You do the best you can. There's no magic to this. All right. Okay. So enough. And so we're going to move to the floor exercise now. The reason I don't mind spending time talking about these is that they are real. They are real. That's why we're here, is to deal with the reality. Okay. So let's go do some joint exercise on the knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now to the heel. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then now left foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now to the toes. Now we're going to stand on the toes. Focus on the top of the head. Look straight ahead and just stand on your toes. And then when you come down, impact the heel. Okay, now make sure you do that on a carpet or a rug or something so you don't impact the heel on a hard surface. Okay, second time. This one actually has great health benefit. Okay, one last time. Okay, now we're going to stand on one foot, left foot, balance, focus on top of the head, look straight ahead, okay? And then kick a right foot. As soon as you kick, you come back to the top of your head. Get ready? Go. 1, come back. 2, and 3. And then on the right foot, focus on the top of the head, looking straight ahead. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? All right, so now ready for this breathing exercise, what's called pranayama in the yoga practice. And the idea is to learn to breathe with your diaphragm. And this technique is designed so that you don't even have to think about it. You just have to follow. But the key to understand this is that you let your breathing follow the body. All right. So let's just focus on this. Focus on the center of your palm. This is about mind, body, and chi. Lift it up. 1. Bring it towards yourself. 2.
Lower the hand, lower the knee, 3, and then stand back up, 4. Now, follow your hand. So when you lift up your hand, you breathe in, you don't stop in the middle. And when your hand stop, then you stop breathing. Okay? And then breathe out. Now, try it again. Breathe in all the way. And then breathe out. Try not to stop in the middle. Okay? Breathe in, breathe out. One more time. Breathe in, breathe out. Continue. Breathe in, cross your hand. Now, this one is very obvious. You breathe out, you don't stop until your hand stop. And the reason for that is that you want to open up your lung and continue to breathe in, which means that you're pushing down your diaphragm, right? Because your lung, the rest of the muscle not moving now, right? You're not using, you can't move this muscle. So the only way that you can breathe more in is to bring down the diaphragm. Okay, now get ready. One more time. Okay, now breathe in, breathe out. I said it the wrong way. So you breathe out, which means that you're not using the muscle here. You only can use the muscle here. So when you breathe out, you're lifting up the diaphragm. Okay? And then breathe in, breathe out. Now try it one time. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. One more time. In, out. In, out. Okay, now we're going to move from moving meditation to standing meditation. And we're going to stand for 1 minute, focusing on the breath. Anchor our mind on the breath, one breath at a time. Focus on my breathing. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. One breath at a time. Okay. Now, the next one is called balloon breathing. Right foot first, right foot front, and then lean back so the toes on the right foot are pointing up. We're going to look up the ceiling about 45 degrees. We're going to bring up a hand. We're going to follow the hand, roll your body forward without hunching your back. And brace yourself looking down at this at the floor 45 degree. The heel is up on the left foot. Open again. And as you go forward, you breathe in. See, you're collapsing your lung and you breathe in, which means that you're pushing down your diaphragm. And then you open and you breathe out. The opposite happens, right? You're lifting up your diaphragm without even thinking about it. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. In, out. One more time. In and out. Now focus on the center of your palm. Bring it down. Shifting your focus from the center of your palm to the center of the bottom of your feet. One step, two step, and now focus on your breath. One breath at a time. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. Okay, now to the left. Left foot first, and then lean back, move forward, breathe in, and then breathe out. Now, don't stop in the middle, all the way out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Don't stop in the middle, okay? In, out. One more time. Breathe in, breathe out. Now lower your hand, come back to the standing position, and focus on your breath for 1 minute, right? Learn to focus on your body when you move. Learn to focus on your breath when you're standing, lying down, or sitting. Okay, now to the third form, which is called butterfly. So this time you might want to move your feet out a little bit further and open your shoulder. Focus on the center of your palm, bring it up, and then bring it down. As you bring down, lower your knee, and then bring it back up again. This time, raise your heel, standing on your toes. Focus on the center of your palm until the back of the hand is touching, looking straight ahead. As you come down, breathe in, very obvious. You're now pushing down the diaphragm, and breathe out. You're lifting up your diaphragm without even knowing it. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. Breathe in. Use your nose, okay? Don't open your mouth. Close your mouth. We want the mouth to be wet because the saliva, when you're meditating, the saliva is magical. You actually want to swallow, let those saliva flow into your stomach. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. In and out. Lower your hand, lower your heel, come back to the standing position. 1 minute, one breath at a time. Okay, now the fourth form is called a push hand. So again, the right foot forward, but this time we don't have to lean back anymore. So we just stand still Now we want to envision a water wheel in front of us. We're going to bring our hands, move our body forward as if you're rising on the water wheel all the way to the top, all the way down. As you come down, you lower your body as if you're sitting on your left foot. Then you look straight ahead, see the center of the water wheel, and you push. As you come up, you breathe in, you don't stop in the middle, you breathe in until you get to the very bottom. And then you look straight ahead and you breathe out. Breathe in, open your shoulder, and then breathe out as if you're pushing from your lower back. In, out, in. Now the trick here is just sense it without judging. Just feel it, feel your body without judging. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. Breathe in, breathe out. One more time. Breathe in, open your shoulder, breathe out, push. Now come back. Another minute of standing meditation. Okay. All right, to the left. Get ready. Breathe in. Breathe out. You don't have to follow me. You can do it as slow as you want. Just make sure you anchor your mind on the center of your palm. Let your eye follows the center of your palm. The eye follows the hand, the mind follows the eye. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, open your shoulder, and then breathe out. One at a time. Breathe in, breathe out. One more time. Breathe in, and then breathe out. Back to the standing. Okay, the last one's up and down, mainly about the kidney. All right, so just stand straight, breathe in, and then open your knee, breathe out all the way down, and then press forward, and then breathe in again, all the way up, and then bend backward. Okay, now we're going to do two more times. Breathe out, breathe in, and then relax one last time. Breathe out, breathe in, and then relax. All right. Okay, so slowly walk back and just let's spend 3 minutes just kind of settle down, settle down. Okay. Focus on your breath, one breath at a time. Feel that you're breathing in, and then feel that you're breathing out. Okay. All right. So we get ready to really learn how to do meditation and combining um, the posture with the breath and then also with the mind, right? All three together. But before I do that, I did notice a comment made by Martha when we were talking about how to deal with sadness. And she said something very simple, but very, very important, which is that helping others. So it turns out that helping others is really a really good way to heal your mind. But you want to make sure that you help others for the right reason. I have noticed a lot of people, um, in the name of helping others, as a selfish act. They just want to be surrounded by people who are worse than they are, and they're able to, by doing that, sort of elevate themselves. And I see a lot of that as I work in the prison. A lot of people just go in as volunteer because they want to give back. But there's sort of a hidden reason is that they just want to feel good about themselves as they give back to people. And that is okay, but you have to be careful when you do that because then eventually you will suffer from what is called um, compassion overload. When you help others, don't think of that as a way of giving. Don't think of that as a way of giving, although it is. Because if you do that, you cut short of what you really gained when you give, when you help others. When you help others, think of it as a practice of pushing away all the what called the hindrances to let your inner self, the positive energy, reveal itself. And when you help others, it's actually the way to not only practice compassion and loving kindness, but it's also to practice empathy and equanimity. Volunteering to prison is a very good way to help others because of our judicial systems. In the end, our judicial system punishes those who are poor, whether they're white or brown or yellow or black. Black people compose of about 10 to 11% of our population, but in the prison, there are like 70%.
The rest of them are brown or yellow. And then there's some white people too, but they tend to be very poor. So people go to prison because they're poor. You say, well, no, they go to prison because they committed a crime. Of course they did. But lots of people commit a crime and didn't have to go to prison. Those tend to be the rich. So there's a lot of injustice in the prison system. There's a lot of violence in the prison system because it's the language. It's the only common language. Is how they protect themselves. So if you want to do volunteer work and you want to give to others, the best way is to be in the prison because it's a very scary place. And the only way that you can protect yourself in a place of violence is to put away all your fear and put away all your sadness and put away all your other thoughts and let the inner self reveal itself. And I believe in that there is positive energy in all of us, even though you're surrounded by murderers. The people that we visit are there because most of the time because they had murdered someone, maybe more than one. But that doesn't mean that there is no goodness in them. Just like my neighbor, they're drug addicts, right? They go and they steal things and then they take it apart and they sell it for drug money. That doesn't mean that there's no goodness in them. And earlier I talked about how to manage your emotion because that's actually the only way you can deal with all the craziness that's around you is by controlling your own emotion so that the good energy in you can communicate with the good energy in the others. And that's how you not manipulate, that's how you navigate in this crazy world that we live in. And there's no better place to learn that except in the prison. That you can actually find goodness in people, even though they have committed murder. And so I talk about faith and I talk about how faith is also confidence. And when you practice like that, you gain confidence in yourself. You gain confidence in everything that we talked about here. So Martha says, help others. Yes, help others. But understand what it really meant to help others is that it's a spiritual practice. You're actually helping others to practice not only compassion and loving kindness, but also practice empathy and equanimity. All right? Let's focus on our breath. Let's come back to the posture. Let's sit up straight, stretch your spine towards the ceiling, lean back and relax. Let's open the shoulder, lift it up, open it, and then relax. Let's lean back the forehead, tuck in the chin. Let's relax the forehead, relax the eyelid, and then put the tip of the tongue behind the teeth. Close your mouth. Focus on your breath. Start with knowing, I know that I'm breathing in. I know that I'm breathing out. Once you know your breath, then you go to the next step, which is to anchor your mind on your belly button. And when you know that you're breathing in, gently move the belly button forward. And when you know that you're breathing out, gently move the belly button back. Now that we have done all that breathing exercise, your body has sort of a muscle memory, and it's actually using the diaphragm a little bit more than before. So you can actually feel your stomach moving when you breathe. You feel that your stomach opens, meaning that the diaphragm is lower, opening up your lung. You feel that your stomach collapses as you breathe out, which means that the diaphragm is moving up, collapsing your lung. That by itself is a very, very good exercise. It actually will restore the elasticity between your fight or flight and you rest and digest. When you breathe in, you open your stomach, you lower your diaphragm, you enter into the sympathetic. And when you breathe out, you lift up your diaphragm, you enter into the parasympathetic. When you enter into the sympathetic, it actually releases stress hormone, reduce inflammation in your body. And then when you enter into the parasympathetic, it restores the sensitivity to the stress hormone, which are mainly steroid, restoring your self-healing power so you can eliminate inflammation within your body without having to use external steroid. This is the key, one breath at a time. Now, once you master this technique of breathing with your stomach, we go to the next step. You maintain that feeling of your stomach as you breathe in, feeling the stomach opens. You feel the stomach collapses as you move in. Now I want you to anchor your mind on the lower part of your spine. And as you breathe in, I want you to move up the spine towards the top of the ceiling and stretch the spine towards the ceiling. When you get to the top of the head and you start to breathe out, I want you to come down from the top of the head to your forehead, to your nose, to the tongue, all the way back to the belly button. And as you do that, I want you to lean back and relax. Breathe in, stretch the spine. Breathe out, lean back and relax. Breathe in, follow the spine all the way top to the head. Breathe out, come back from the forehead all the way down to the belly button. Let's sit for 3 minutes and then we'll explain the next step. Now we're going to do the next step. But before I do that, let me just explain what we are doing here. I talk about our degrees of existence, which includes more than the body. The Western science deals only with the body. Here, we're dealing with the body and we're dealing with the mind, not the thinking mind, something beyond that. And we're dealing with the bridge that is between the body and the mind, which we call the chi. But the word chi has different definition. It can just mean breath, or it can mean life energy within us, life energy outside of us. So first, we're going to deal with the body by sitting properly. We divide the body into 7 parts. First, we have to make sure that the legs are nice and firm, so we're not using the leg muscle. You can sit like I do, but make sure you have pillows and blankets to support your legs. We sit like the bell. We stand like the pine tree. We walk like the wind, and we lie down like the bow and arrow. So we sit like the bell, which means that our legs are like the pedestal of the bell. We have to loosen up our hands, not using any muscle. We don't want to lift up a hand and do posture mantra. Just relax. The third part is a spine. We want to lift up a spine, stretch your spine, and then lean back. We're going to move our forehead back, tuck in the chin, form this pillar so that the energy can actually travel through our spine, which is conductive. Then we have to relax eyelid, relax our forehead. And then we have to leave the tip of the tongue behind the teeth to form an electrical circuit. Also to relax, to reactivate our saliva gland so that we can be in the rest and digest. All that is about the body. Now we're going to focus on the belly button and we're going to learn to open up that belly button, open up that stomach, moving the belly button forward as we breathe in. And we're going to learn to collapse the stomach, moving the belly button back as you breathe out. All that is to cycle us between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, creating the harmony again in our autonomous nervous system. But not only that, it's actually generating electricity in our small intestine, which are piezoelectric. Once we do all that, then we want to cycle that electricity through our spine by focusing on the lower part of our spine. As we breathe in, we move up the spine, stretch the spine towards the ceiling, lower the resistance in the spine, let the electricity flows up. Electricity will flow up because we're providing a electrical potential using the cavity between the left brain and the right brain. And then when we breathe out, we come back into the stomach by leaning back and relax. As we do that, we're actually creating a magnetic field inside of around our body because we're moving electricities up and moving electricity down. Eventually, the magnetic field will couple with the magnetic field in the universe. And then pretty soon you feel that there is a ball of energy rising within you. That's when we enter into what we call the wandering dragon chasing the pearl. The ball energy that rises within you is the energy in the universe. It just happens to rise in a conduit that happens to be your spine. You follow that ball energy like the dragon would follow the pearl. But then when you get to the top of the head, you remind yourself that it's a wandering dragon. The dragon needs to be free. So you don't force it back, but instead, you imagine a cloud on top of your head. You imagine the dragon is entering to its ancestral home, and you just relax. And then you wait for your out breath. As soon as your out breath happens, the dragon comes back in, come back out, follows, come back to your stomach. The stomach is like the cave for the dragon, nice and warm. And once again, you let the dragon be free. You let it stay in the cave for as long as you can. And you wait for your in breath again. And when you breathe in, you go up. You relax on top of your head as far up as you can. And then when you breathe out, you come back and you let it rest in your abdomen for as long as you can. Follow your breath. Follow the pearl of energy rising within you. And pretty soon you feel very, very cool in your head and very, very warm in your stomach. And all of a sudden, time passes. Let's sit for 3 minutes and then we'll be in the class, okay? All the anger, all the sadness, put that aside for a minute. Okay, open your eyes and the class. So today we had a lot of opportunity not only to practice spiritually, physically, and emotionally, but we also had a chance to discuss about reality, right? The sadness, the anguish, and all of that. So my last word of advice is that you feel it, you accept it, but you don't consume it. You let it go. Because if you consume the sadness and you consume the anguish, they will consume you. Okay? Don't feel victimized. Take control of your emotion. If you feel victimized, you will be victims. Okay, all right. Okay, 星期一見，拜拜。多謝大家，多謝大家。OK，多謝大家支持。OK，OK，拜拜。Okay, everyone. I'll see you all next week. Okay, keep up the practice. Everything here is recorded. You can find me on YouTube and Facebook. Just look for me. Okay, or just go to DENNYKMIU.com. And then if you add a slash, it could be slash Facebook, slash YouTube, slash Patreon. Okay, all of that. All right. See you all next week. Thank you for coming here and supporting us.